Good morning, everyone. 7th, and a wonderful day it is out there. Lots of sunshine down here in the Cumberland County area. I trust that a lot of you have had a chance to digest some of the the emergency orders, the PMOs that came out of the judicial branch. Today, just so you know, it is the final day for sending an email to the Chief Justice if there is a stakeholder that wants to participate in the stakeholders group that the Chief Justice is putting together and is meeting for the first time next week. We've got a lot actually to share today. We do have a special guest. It is Chief Civil Deputy Harry McKinney from Kennebec County, and I see he's with us. He has compiled some really important information that we've posted before on Bar Talk. He has updated it just for him addressing us today, and he's going to talk about the questions he shared with the other counties and the results he found. Deputy McKinney, are you there?
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to be at one of your meetings. I am here. By way of introduction, my name is Harry McKinney, a Chief Civil Deputy with Kennebec County Sheriff's Office. I've been here for 34 and a half years. I'm also the trainer for the Maine Sheriff's Association and the creator of the Civil Process Manual the first one came out 20 years ago for sheriffs to use around the state. When I was talking to Thad in reference to this meeting, what I wanted to do is back on April 8th, I did not a questionnaire, but I called every sheriff's office up and asked who was serving. And what prompted that is I was getting calls from law firms wanting to know if we were serving papers. And we're business as usual. We're taking precautions, and we are. So what I found out, if you will, at the time, that several sheriffs, most sheriffs, were either not serving at all or with limitations. So what I wanted to do for today is more than just ask the question, are they serving or not, but I wanted some more in-depth information to the reasoning behind it. I learned many years ago, being an intern at the legislature and following John Doyle around, if you will, I always ask the question, when someone makes a decision, one, what authority are they doing it with, and along with other issues. So one of the things, or four of the questions that I asked was very simple and straightforward, as you can see on the screen, so I won't repeat the questions. But I highlighted some of the answers in my notes, if you will, that gave me some concerns, or the answers and how counties sort of came up with their answer. So seems like the biggest misconception was they'll open up once the courts open up. Well, fact of the matter is the courts never did close, but the courts have always been open. And if you will, my thoughts, and has always been, if you will, we function as a aid to attorneys and members of the bar, not just the courts. And I realize the functions of our office, if you will, for attorneys to provide those services to meet your requirements. So the biggest misconception was once the courts open up, other issues or answers, and I summed them all up, was anything with a court date, emergency order, urgent matters, or, and this one here I found a little bit concerning, was anything we deem necessary. Once again, our function is, if you will, is to serve the documents, not to interpret and what's important and what's not important. The other response that I got on one was, in light of Governor Mills' executive order, we have suspended service and enforcement of evictions unless an additional order from the court authorizing process to continue. No writs until the courts open back up. I'm going to address these matters with the Maine Sheriff's Association. This is the first time we've been through something like this, and I think it's important that we act as one, and if you will, we're all on the same page, because if attorneys are trying to get something served in the state of Maine, whether it's in York County, Lincoln, or Kennebec, I think it's important that we're all open and available. We are not attorneys. We do not have the ability to, if you will, to determine what's important or not. We're there to deliver the paper and for you folks to proceed. So that's my overview. I'm more than happy to take some questions, but that was kind of, if you will, the genesis behind those 4 questions, to go a little deeper to find out what the decision-making process was.
And Harry, that was perfectly timed too. Good job in presenting all that information in one. With all 16 counties listed, just in summary, what were the counties that had full service, no questions asked?
The counties that never shut down and operated, if you will, some, if you will, initially curtailed, but Kennebec County, Franklin County, Cumberland County, and York County, full service. Today, Somerset County is opening up. I thought it was kind of ironic, the 2 counties, Cumberland and York, who has had the most issues with COVID-19, they were still operating. Their offices, like us, they were taking precaution. But then you take other counties, like up in Aroostook County, were little COVID-19 issues just shutting down completely. I think that we need to make ourselves available, if you will, and pick up the phone and be able to communicate with attorneys' offices and to be of service.
It sounds like Brian Ward might have a question, Harry. Brian, are you there?
I am. I do, Harry. Specifically regarding writs of execution.
Okay.
Excuse me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can.
Writs of possession, Harry. The Governor Mills' order related to the issuance and service of writs of possession basically attempted to freeze the FED eviction process. But there's a safe harbor provision in there. If a court or a judge reviews the petition for a writ and approves it and it meets one of the exceptions. We've run into issues in counties. If a judge issues the writ, in some counties there's a presumption that the judge has performed their duty under the executive order and determined that an exception applies and the writ should be issued, and some sheriffs will just simply take that writ and the judge's issuance of it as proof of compliance with the order. Other counties have insisted on a separate independent finding from the judge in writing before the sheriff will serve that writ, stating that the writ complies with one of the exceptions in the executive order. Any experience with that, and what's Kennebec doing, and what have you heard from other counties on that?
It's funny you should ask. I was just talking to someone who's going to be giving you a call this morning in reference to a writ of possession.
Oh.
I got a inquiry yesterday in reference to, on Tuesday, the judge issued a writ of possession. I went and served it, and then the individual made the complaint. Excuse me, let me back. That would have been on Monday. And then the individual made the complaint, if you will, that I violated the executive order. So it went from, it ended up over to the Attorney General's office. And my position is this: if you look at those 4 pages of an executive order, and as I tell the other sheriffs, we are not attorneys. I rely on the courts. I rely on them to issue, and the judge to make that decision. We're not at the hearings, and we rely on if the judge issues the paperwork, then I assume he or she has taken all that in consideration. So our position is, 1, the writ stands on its own. 2, there's no provisions in the statutes, and I know one of the issues I had with Penobscot County, they want an additional order. I don't think it's required, and I will be discussing that matter with the Maine sheriffs. You get a writ, you serve it.
Well, thank you very much, Harry. And I don't necessarily see any more questions popping up right now. Your information is invaluable. I appreciate you putting this work together. And we may have some more questions as our last 5 minutes roll along. And if we do, we'll certainly ask them. So I wanted to go to our next item on the agenda, which I believe is our business updates. And Angela, do you have some updates for us?
I do. So we are on day 4 of the Lawyer Wellbeing Week, and today's focus is on social well-being. And I do have a slide for you right there. Gives you the TED Talk for today, an article to read, and the challenge is to write a gratitude letter to someone that you've been meaning to do so. So take a look at that, please. I was also asked by Aria E. from the Overseers to remind, for those of you who may have received an email from Jackie Rogers, which of course we know did not come from Jackie, her email account was hacked yesterday, and many of us around the state received emails from her, and that please don't open that email, or at least don't click on the links within that email. It is not from Jackie, and Aria will provide official email that will explain what happened soon. And as you can see from our slide here, let me go back. We have some upcoming guests. Of note, most immediately is that Acting Chief Justice Mead will be joining us tomorrow on this call. Aria was kind enough to step down on her normal Friday briefing to allow Justice Mead to speak. Plus, she said she's a little inundated with hacked emails right now. So it worked out well. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Angela. I just want to piggyback on what Angela was talking about for our well-being, lawyer well-being week, that it is Social Well-Being Day, like she said, and I listened to the Are You a Giver or Taker presentation off of YouTube, and it's done by Adam Grant, who is a organizational psychologist. He mentioned of a few things, but in particular, he mentioned the 5-minute favor, and it's he borrowed it from someone else. I forget who he attributed it to, but he talks about it's your opportunity. You should look for opportunities to where it's not a whole lot for you to actually be able to make a difference in someone's life, whether it's an introduction or whether it's passing on some information. And it's a great opportunity to be a giver. You'll notice on the personal side of things that I am thankful today for givers. My spouse is a fine example for me. She's certainly been a giver in our relationship. So with that, we did have a request that I think came in chat, which was, hey, can you forward what it is that Harry McKinney had put together? And we are going to post it so that you'll have it there.
Yes, it will be posted to our COVID-19 resource page.
Right. And we're looking forward to Chief Mead tomorrow, who is going to be addressing the new PMO, SJC1, as well as looking toward the future. So we're going to be excited to hear his thoughts on that. And if I didn't make it clear at the very beginning, you have until I think it's noontime today, May 1st, May 7th, noontime today, to reach out to the chief's office regarding any thoughts about the stakeholder meeting that's being scheduled next week. And you can also please reach out to us regarding what you would like the Maine State Bar Association to really be keeping their thumb on when the stakeholders meeting starts. Are there any other questions or alibis, Angela?
I just want to point out that It was my mistake. ARIA will not be sending out an email per se. It was a Microsoft issue and not an internal server issue. So no one's information, excuse me, information was compromised. It was just at Jackie's email. So I apologize for that. Thank you.
I guess just one more alibi for me. Amy Robidas is our family law section chair, and she has advocated with the chief's office, and she's going to be having a seat at the stakeholders table too. So we're going to have our family law section well represented. With that said, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Thank you.